which, being the common ore in Cornwall, the English miners were astounded on their arrival to find thrown away as useless. Secondly, stamping and washing the scoriae from the old furnaces, by which process particulates of metal are recovered in abundance. I have actually seen mules carrying to the coast for transportation to England a cargo of such cinders. But the first case is much the most curious. The Chilean miners were so convinced that copper pyrites contained not a particle of copper, that they laughed at the Englishmen for their ignorance, who laughed in turn, and bought their richest veins for a few dollars. It is very odd that, in a country where mining had been extensively carried on for many years, so simple a process as gently roasting the ore to expel the sulfur previous to smelting it had never been discovered. A few improvements have likewise been introduced in some of the simple machinery, but even to the present day, water is removed from some mines by men carrying it up the shaft in leathern bags. The laboring men work very hard. They have little time allowed for their meals, and during summer and winter they begin when it is light and leave off at dark. They are paid £1 a month, and their food is given them. This for breakfast consists of 16 figs and 2 small loaves of bread. For dinner, boiled beans. For supper, broken roasted wheat grain. They scarcely ever taste meat, as, with the £12 per annum, they have to clothe themselves and support their families. The miners who work in the mine itself have 25 shillings per month, and are allowed a little charqui. But these men come down from their bleak habitations only once in every fortnight or 3 weeks. During my stay here I thoroughly enjoyed scrambling about these huge mountains. The geology, as might have been expected, was very interesting. The shattered and baked rocks, traversed by innumerable dikes of greenstone, showed what commotions had formerly taken place. The scenery was much the same as that near the Bell of Quillota, dry barren mountains, dotted at intervals by bushes with a scanty foliage. The cactuses, or rather opuntias, were here very numerous. I measured one of a spherical figure, which, including the spines, was 6 feet and 4 inches in circumference. The height of the common cylindrical branching kind is from 12 to 15 feet, and the girth, with spines, of the branches, between 3 and 4 feet. A heavy fall of snow on the mountains prevented me during the last 2 days from making some interesting excursions. I attempted to reach a lake which the inhabitants, for some unaccountable reason, believe to be an arm of the sea. During a very dry season, it was proposed to attempt cutting a channel from it for the sake of the water, but the padre, after a consultation, declared it was too dangerous, as all Chile would be inundated, if, as generally supposed, the lake was connected with the Pacific. We ascended to a great height, but becoming involved in the snowdrifts, failed in reaching this wonderful lake, and had some difficulty in returning. I thought we should have lost our horses, for there was no means of guessing how deep the drifts were, and the animals, when led, could only move by jumping. The black sky showed that a fresh snowstorm was gathering, and we therefore were not a little glad when we escaped. By the time we reached the base, the storm commenced, and it was lucky for us that this did not happen 3 hours earlier in the day. End of Chapter 12, Part 1. Recording by Zachary Brewstergeist, Greenbelt, Maryland, July 2007.